Every cameras on cars, depending on which team it is and where you are in the field, generally speaking, most cars carry at least 4 cameras in the race, and some of the top runners 5. So that means overall, over the grid on a race day, there's around 90 different shots to choose from. Of those 90 shots, every team is transmitting at least one picture live, and some cars can dual stream. That means they can, I don't know if you've seen this piece where you see the halo, and then you see the halo's being filmed from the forward facing camera, but you see an image of the pedals or the rear facing shot in the halo. How does the helmet interact with in Formula One? So, first, it doesn't have an aerodynamic penalty because the camera is actually inside the helmet. So once the visor's closed, it doesn't give you any kind of problem aerodynamically. It's been homologated, which is a procedure it has to go through, where it undertakes several tests: friction, pointed objects, blunted objects, even down to the amount of force required to pull this apart should the driver need to get out of the car in a hurry. But from a safety aspect, there are no real issues. We do interact with the teams when we're testing, because obviously we can't put it to air until we know that it's working properly. The teams are quite helpful. They're quite receptive to that. The philosophy in Formula 1 has changed nowadays. People realise that how important onboard camera is and what a useful tool it is. And so we get asked all the time by teams to provide footage for analysis, for like driving lines and such like. But the challenges are, for the teams, weight and aerodynamic penalty are crucial, and the general feeling is, if everyone's got it, there's not a problem, but people don't want to be the guinea pig more often than not. The biggest problem I've suffered in the 30 years I've been doing it is the harshness of the vibration from a Formula 1 car. That is, we have spent millions of pounds dialing out that vibration to make it look so smooth, and there's been a bit of a change of philosophy now that we want to reintroduce the vibration to give people that more visceral feel of what's going on and a more exciting feel to driving. It's often referred to the 1990 or 91 pole lap of Senna in Monaco. We're not comparing eggs with eggs, but that's the feeling, that excitement, that raw excitement, and that's what we're trying to reintroduce. Why did I choose this career? I didn't really choose this career. I came into it by accident, if I'm truly honest. I was a mechanic at Brabham, and one year we did a project with a car called the Alfa Pro car, which is an Alfa 164. It looks like a saloon car as a road car, but it's actually a Formula 1 car underneath. And when we finished it, it was about 2 a.m. in the morning, and I was taking pictures of it in the race bay. And unbeknown to me, Mr. Eccleston was stood behind me and asked what I was doing with those pictures, and I said, I'm just taking them for my own personal use. I never thought any more about it. 6 months later, I bumped into Mr. Eccleston in the corridor, and he just said to me, you know about cameras, you know about Formula 1 cars, I'm starting up an onboard camera team, you can go and work there. And I went, okay then. That was 1989. What has improved onboard camera the most? I would say there's lots and lots of minor things have added to the consistency of the picture. But most importantly, I would say the biggest step forward is the electronics technology. Most of the components now are military spec components, and they are just that much more robust. And with every passing day, technology gets better and components get smaller, and more robust. And so that is the secret really behind the success of the onboard camera. What's the most challenging things? The most challenging things are when we change camera designs or we want to introduce something big or draws power, getting the teams to get on board with it. Forgive the pun, but that's it's very difficult often to get the teams to embrace what you want to do. They don't mind small things, but new cameras, when I say new cameras, I mean new shapes. We're currently looking at possibly doing a new shape for the year after next, which is a totally radical different shape from this. But it poses many problems, many issues, many problems, but that's what makes it exciting.
What's the most spectacular shot you've gotten? Where was it and when was it? And with what driver?
The most spectacular shot, I've got a few. The most spectacular shot, probably the one that most people remember is Valencia 2010, where Mark Webber hit the back of Kimi Kovalainen and flipped over and did a complete 360. That was quite spectacular. One of my other favourite shots is 2014 Interlagos, lap 47. We were developing a panning camera, and the panning camera was a bit archaic, if I'm honest. It was a device where you armed it and then you pressed the button and the camera would pan. And if you pressed the button and the car decided not to overtake, then the camera would continue to pan. But on lap 47, I think it was in Interlagos, a Toro Rosso goes to overtake Force India, and he comes up down the main straight, and he looks and he tries to dive in, and he decides not to do it. And they go round the corner where the pit exit is, and they go round to that straight. As they go onto that straight, he goes for it, and as he goes for it, the panning camera just pans round. You couldn't have done it better if you tried. And it's something, again, we want to try and reintroduce into Formula One. Where is the most peculiar place on a car I'd put a camera? I've long wanted to put a thermal camera under the bodywork. You don't necessarily have to put it under the bodywork because it's a thermal camera. It will see the heat pattern through the bodywork. But could you imagine having a camera looking at the exhaust? It's not probably good for watching lap after lap, but it would be great as something to just give people insight. And we're actually currently looking into reintroducing a thermal camera. What's my view on the future of onboard camera? I've been doing it a long time, and I've put cameras on most parts of a Formula One car. I would have said the introduction of 360 cameras and virtual reality and all the ancillary things you can do with the footage once you've got it isn't really in my domain. We're a department who provide a service, we get the pictures off the car. What production and post-production decide to do with it thereafter is not really... I get asked for footage by the teams. Can we see, we had an accident, can we see the footage? I have to refer them on to post-production and request that footage sent to them. What advice could I give to somebody who wanted to pursue a career in Formula One? I would say it's a very, very difficult field to get into because there's such a small amount of people who do it. It's very difficult. The opportunities are obviously that lesser opportunity to get into Formula One. You need to be either an electronics engineer or a mechanical engineer, and ideally you want to have a good understanding of both disciplines. Some of the guys who work here are either a mechanical engineer who know a lot about electronics or vice versa. All I could say is send me a CV, I'll put it on file. One of the also not being many opportunities of places you can get a job in this kind of industry. most of the people who work in Formula One onboard camera have been here a considerable amount of time. Half of the staff have been here over 20 years, and so it must be. People have often said to me, Steve, you've got the best job in Formula One. I think I wouldn't disagree with that, and most of the people who work in the department feel the same way about it.